Hello to you and welcome to Campaign Chronicles. With just 21 weeks to go until the first round of voting, this is France 24's regular update on what's happening ahead of the French presidential election. Coming up in today's programme, the far right cries foul over a technicality that could rule out their candidate. The president's not yet campaigning, but his faithful lieutenants certainly are. And Faces and Places heads off to Brittany to meet a farmer fed up with environmentalists. We're going to begin, though, with a roundup of the week's news amid concern that the Greens campaign is going off the rails. The Conservatives hesitate about swerving further to the right, and yet another candidate, this time from the political centre, stakes his claim for the presidency.
Will she or won't she? That's the question this week for the Green Party. That after doubt was thrown on Eva Joly's desire to run as the environmentalist presidential candidate. First, she took the weekend off, just as talks with the socialists over nuclear power reached meltdown. Then, on her return, she sharply criticised both the socialists and the deal her party negotiated.
I was angry, and it's true that this deal does not make me happy. I'm not delighted with it.
That hardline stance, as well as claims she wouldn't respect the accord, infuriated senior Greens. Although she has since backtracked, the socialists have called for their allies to fall into line. They say it hands ammunition to the ruling Conservatives. A U-turn from Nicolas Sarkozy on what could be a sensitive campaign theme. The French president says he's against giving the vote to citizens from outside the European Union. That's a measure that the socialists have promised to campaign on. And back in 2005, Sarkozy supported it too. But times have changed. Last month, hardliners in his own party opposed the idea. They insist that their stance will help win back voters from the far-right French National Front. The UMP is certainly being torn in different directions. 6 high-ranking figures published calls for the legalization of homosexual marriage this week. But the party's hardliners were again up in arms, saying any such coming out was unacceptable. For now, party boss Jean-François Copé says he's open-minded about the subject, but that it would only be raised at a later date. Will it be third time lucky for François Bayrou? The centrist confirmed he'll be a candidate on Thursday. He'll be hoping to repeat his feat of 2007. 5 years ago, he came in third with 18% of votes. And he wants to provide an alternative to the big parties by insisting on fiscal thriftiness. Now, though, his poll figures haven't yet taken off, stuck at 7%.
Now, our reporter Luke Brown is with me here on the set. Luke, you've got the tweet of the week, and it's got something to do with the stories we've just seen, hasn't it?
We've seen just the disarray there within the Greens. There's also a sign of the times. We can see that the spokesperson for Eva Joly, Yannick Jadot, has actually quit. He did that via Twitter. As you can see there, something of a sign of the times. Joly's campaign has come in for a great deal of criticism from within the party, so perhaps some crumb of comfort comes from the fact that her predecessor as the environmentalist presidential candidate, Dominique Voynet, has actually lent a bit of support via Twitter once again, saying, with friends like that, who needs enemies?
Very, very true. Now, Luke, you're going to have to explain why in politics you can never have enough friends. Yes,
quite right. Running for president is a serious business. That's why there are quite a number of hurdles rather to thin out the crowd. The most famous one of them here in France is the fact you have to get 500 signatures, the blessing of 500 local dignitaries, mayors and such. Like, in all, there are 50,000 of that, around 50,000 of them nationwide. 36,000 of them are mayors. And as such, that means that the annual Congress of Mayors, which took place this week in Paris, is the target for all the small candidates. One of those small candidates is Marine Le Pen for the far-right Front National. She says the current system is not fair because she's struggling to get those 500. Let's take a listen to what she has to say.
The 500 signatures has become a powerful tool of political manipulation. It allows parties from the system to choose their candidate.
You're hearing her speaking there. Doesn't she have a point?
Something of a point. She says it's anti-democratic. After all, she's polling about 16 to 20% in the vote next year, but she might not even get to the first round at this rate. The reason for that, there are very few Front National mayors around the country. Most of the ones that don't really have any party loyalties, they say quite a lot of pressure, financial pressure, where funding could well be cut off, is actually put upon them. I was at the Mayors' Congress earlier this week, and they're pretty angry too. too, with the possible solution proposed by the Front National, which is to have anonymous votes, signatures. Basically, they say they were publicly elected. As such, their decisions must be transparent. The question does have to be asked of the Front National as well. Are they playing the victim? Every presidential campaign, they basically come out with this same argument, but only back in 1981 did they fail to field a candidate. We'll have to wait until March, though. That's the deadline for those signatures.
All right, Luke, thanks very much. That's Luke Brown, our Campaign Chronicles reporter there. Now, Nicolas Sarkozy is still behind in the polls. He's not campaigning yet, not even a candidate, in fact. So it's his lieutenants that are on the campaign trail doing the hard yards. France 24 has followed two of them. Despite their differences, their main priority, ensure that the president wins re-election.
If you have a problem, if no one else can help,
The situation may not be that urgent yet.
maybe you can hire the A-team.
But with their leader still trailing in the polls, it's time for Nicolas Sarkozy's loyalists, old and new, to stand up and be counted.
He needs everyone to defend him. A lot of people are attacking him, so he needs people on his side.
The president is doing everything he can to protect France. That's his job, and we're doing ours, which is to defend our record.
Valérie Rousseau-de-Boer is in Lille in the north of France. She's part of the crack team of MPs and ministers dispatched to launch the ruling Conservative Party's economic plans for the campaign. After just one term in office for up-and-coming foot soldiers like her, the party line is gospel.
Il est absolument nécessaire d'avoir ce moment de courage, de responsabilité, de vérité. La vérité en politique, c'est payant.
L'engagement que nous prenons, nous, la majorité présidentielle, de dire la vérité aux Français.
Les Français ont soif de vérité et de responsabilité.
A day earlier, it was in Nîmes in the south of France that Henri Guénaud took to the stage. Although unelected, he's been in politics for 25 years, and up till now, he's been the speechwriter, not the speaker. As he defends his champion, he's also determined to be his own man.
Do I look like a speechwriter? Speechwriters don't think, don't talk. I've always been a thinker.
A declaration of personal independence then, but that doesn't mean the audience has forgotten him as one of the president's key men.
Monsieur Guénaud, merci beaucoup pour tout.
Merci à vous. Merci surtout d'être venu.
Ah oui, mais pour Nicolas Sarkozy aussi.
Meanwhile, back in Lille, Valérie Rousseau-de-Boer is busy fulfilling her potential. Her star's been rising for the past 6 months. As the event's master of ceremonies, her role remains on the face of it limited, but with the added responsibility for the new party project, she's confident her time will come.
Le président souhaite, je crois,
I believe the president wants to see new faces and new people in the campaign.
Personnes qui viennent avec dynamisme
They
et
provide a
volonté,
dynamism and a willingness to defend our programme.
Vous en faites partie.
I hope so.
The campaign may be well underway,
Bonne campagne.
but Nicolas Sarkozy himself isn't expected to throw his hat into the ring until early next year, leaving his faithful supporters just a couple of months in the spotlight before the president returns to centre stage.
Our faces and places now, and France 24's weekly rendezvous with some of the 44 million voters registered here in France. This week we're off to Brittany to meet an archetype of France's heritage, a farmer. Rural life used to be key to the nation's identity, one wooed by presidential candidates, but times change and many farmers disagree with the current priorities in Paris.
Allez! Allez, dentiste, hop. Ah, ils sont bien au soleil. Hey, Brise, allez, va, non?
It's milking time and Pascal gathers his herd, all 105 cows whose names he knows by heart.
J'ai passé beaucoup de temps autour des vaches puisque
I spent a lot of time with cows since my grandparents were farmers, and I guess that's the reason why I like them.
À cause ou grâce à ça. Puis c'est vrai que c'est un métier.
It's also a job where you get to spend a lot of time outdoors.
Pas mal de temps à l'extérieur, quoi.
I really like this aspect as well.
Ça me plaisait plus sûrement de travailler dehors, quoi. Voilà.
Pascal first raised pigs but started milking cows 15 years ago after joining a dairy farmers collective. They are now 3 members. On a daily basis. For every 2,500 litres of milk they produce, they make an €87 profit.
It's barely a profitable job if one is looking to get a healthy return from the time and equipment invested. No, it's not really profitable.
Pascal manages to survive because his farmers collective also produces the cows' feed that protects them from fluctuations in cereal prices. During the 2009 European milk crisis, he refused to throw his milk away, but he still shares the worries of those dairy farmers who protested.
C'est là où moi je suis le
What makes me angry is the way supermarket chains acted towards us. Our products are used as incentives to purchase more expensive goods. And the big chains always have a low-price policy for milk. They never take into account our rising production costs.
Saturdays are dedicated to soccer. Pascal cheers on his son Florent. Thanks to his collective, he only works 1 out of 3 weekends.
That means I can come to see my boys play soccer and sometimes go shopping with my wife on a Saturday afternoon.
But even here, he thinks about his work. If Pascal had a wish for 2012, it would be to halt environmental measures, which he blames for placing too much pressure on farmers.
New measures are constantly being introduced. We're just fed up. We can't bear it anymore. We'd like them to stop at some stage so that we can reflect and let nature take its course, let things improve, and then see what needs to be done.
Pascal claims he doesn't despise ecology, but he says he has priorities. He's a father who needs to make a living.
Well, that is all from this week's Campaign Chronicles. Don't forget to check out our Facebook page. You can tell us what you think. There it is. Do have a look if you get a chance. And, of course, the programme back at the same time, same place next week.